Welcome back, darlings. We are in the midst of my ultimate slow fashion challenge where I am crafting a 1970s vintage inspired wardrobe using Vogue Pattern 8806. And I am very happy to say, first piece complete, the skirt. It fits, it's cute, I like the fabric. So let's talk about how it came to be. Last time we talked all about the reason I chose the particular pattern that I chose, how I was sourcing my fabrics, and the sewing plans. Of course, as with everything in life, it all went a little different than planned, but I learned a lot and I'm very excited about the finished product. So here we are. In a move that will surprise no one who's into vintage clothing or vintage sewing or just sewing at all, the pattern fit didn't fit. Not only because it's a vintage pattern and sizing is different, but I actually knew that it wasn't going to fit because it is 2 sizes smaller than I need it to be to fit my sizes. But it was the only version of that pattern I could find. I really wanted to work from a vintage pattern and that I got secondhand. So I not only had to learn some sewing techniques, I had to learn how to grade the pattern up and how to make it fit my body. Luckily, because I also was collecting some vintage sewing books, I learned how to make a draft of my bodice and my skirt so that I can use them to size other things. I think they're called slopers. So that was really, really helpful, and you'll see how that went down. But yeah, so it was an exercise in learning much more so than sewing. Like weirdly, the sewing was minimal. This is a very easy Vogue pattern. And when they say very easy, they are not messing around. There is literally 2 instruction sheets. They're double printed, but it's the most minimal instructions I've ever seen for a sewing pattern, which gave me a little hope. There's some weird things. There's clearly some things I need to learn, some things I didn't understand. But we'll get there. We'll get there. When I say that the instructions for this are minimal, I mean it. This sheet that you see has all of the instructions for all 4 pieces. That's it. That little spot in the middle is all the instructions I have to go on. And yep, I'm one of those weirdos that likes the way old books and magazines and things smell. This was my first time unfolding this pattern, and so I didn't know if it was cut, if it was uncut, what was going on with it. I'm actually really glad that it's cut already because then A, I don't have to cut into it. I feel less bad about that. And then B, it actually makes using these slopers that I made for myself easier because I can just trace around them. Again, these are just a bodice block and a skirt block that I made using my measurements and making mock-ups and kind of doing a little bit of math and putting them out on some poster board. I have a feeling it's going to be really helpful because, as you've seen, since I've already been wearing the skirt, this worked. I was able to kind of make sure that the original pattern wasn't my size and figure out with a little bit of math how to actually make it my size. I have this giant roll of alphanumeric tracing paper that has just absolutely been the best thing ever. It's already got the math sort of done for you. It makes it so much easier. So this pattern is a size 14, and in vintage sizing, I am a size 18. So I had to kind of do everything up by 2 inches all the way around. It was basically what it was. The darts needed to be moved a little bit. There was a little bit of zhuzhing with zipper placement and that sort of thing, but it wasn't too intense. That's why I wanted to start with the skirt, because I am a little concerned about what it's going to be like when I'm getting to the jacket or the pants. this is a gorgeous vintage cotton from the 70s that I got off of eBay from a woman who was cleaning out her lifetime's worth of sewing from her sewing room. And she sent me this and a couple of surprise pieces and a whole bag of kind of vintage notions for an excruciatingly cheap price. When I asked if she was positive, she said yes, that she just, she was getting older and she was downsizing and wanted to make sure it went to a good home. So I love this fabric. It is such a deep brown that it's almost black with little wonderful orange and yellow floral pattern on it. It's just so crisp and wonderful. Now, I know a lot of people are freaked out about cutting into vintage fabric. I'm not. It's weirdly my favorite part of the whole sewing process is that first snip of the scissors, that sound that it makes. I absolutely love it. I love cutting into fabric. I weirdly love when the pattern pieces are still on there and you fold it up and you put it aside for a second, because it really, to me, is like, wow, we're beginning a project now. This is going to become something. It's officially time to head to the machine, which this big beast of an avocado green Singer fashion mate from the 70s has been lovingly dubbed Pauline, after my great-grandmother. She taught my mother how to sew, and we just thought it was a nice little tribute to her. Made sure to transfer over all the darts and markings, and I got sewing. And this is one of the first sewing projects I've done where the first bits of sewing actually went just as they were supposed to. My darts came out great, and did it bode for how the rest of the project was going to go? Not necessarily, but it was such a nice little hit of dopamine, and it really gave me confidence to continue sewing. When I first started sewing, again, only a few months ago, I used to hate how much ironing was involved, but now I actually really love it. It just makes things look so fantastic. And again, it's one of those markers of, oh, we're in this now. This is a project. This is going to become something, and it's going to be something soon. This is a happy dance. Look at how happy I am about those darts coming out. Next was into my vintage zipper collection, which is extensive. I've weirdly been collecting these for years, long before I started sewing, because I do wear vintage clothes and I need to repair zippers pretty often. next up was the waistband, and this was a little strange. I still don't know how I feel about it. There's a zipper in this, there are darts, and there's an elastic waistband that is sewn a little strangely. Again, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't love the finishing on the inside, but that is what the very bare minimal instructions told me to do, and I was very much sticking to the very minimal instructions and doing the waistband. To be fair, it does fit perfectly, so there's something to it. Almost done here. I'm onto the hem. I have these vintage hem markers that are just so perfect when you're trying to iron a hem all at the exact same length. And so I'm just basting it, and then there's a blind hem stitch at the top. Again, it was really simple, but what weirdly was difficult is they wanted me to pink all around the entire edge of it, and there was only like 1/4 of an inch to work with, so this weirdly took forever. To add the absolute last finishing touch, which was a hook and eye at the zipper on the waist, I headed to the couch. I like to do my hand sewing on the couch, and I was watching the women's hockey team absolutely kick butt. So, not a bad evening, all in all. And then look at that. We have ourselves a finished skirt. So that was the construction of the skirt. It is done. It was a deep dive, like I said, into grading and fabric choice and all of those really fun little details like vintage zippers. So next up, I think I'm going to do the blouse, simply because if all else fails, I'll at least then have one complete outfit. The fabric is a very fun, textured, lightweight, drapey polyester. It will be a pattern clash with the skirt, but that is intentional. I was flipping through some old McCall's magazines from the 70s, and there's so much pattern clashing in there and just really bold, bright things. So being true to the era. I really can't wait to complete this capsule. It's given me a new excitement, a new project. I absolutely am enjoying the process, and it really is a process. I'd love to know in the comments if you sew vintage items or you just know what you're doing in a way that I don't, which most people do. I would love your best tips and tricks. Absolutely could use them. So please do share in the comments. Let me know if you're working on any sewing project right now yourself, what you're making, what's it gonna be. If you wanna see the blouse that I make to complete this first cornerstone of the capsule wardrobe, do definitely hit subscribe. Come hang out as I, really handcraft a slow, intentional wardrobe for myself, very 70s inspired. If that sounds like fun, do hang out. Other than that, I will see you very soon. Until I see you, stay groovy, stay crafting, stay creative, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Do a little twirl.